kind of been steady here, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Angela Molesky, and I am the Assistant Dean for Strategic Initiatives and Marketing for the Borns College of Engineering. Welcome to the session today on the BS plus MS program. We are looking forward to sharing with you information about the program and also answering any questions that you may have. Before we get started, I would like to go through just a few housekeeping items. We are going to be starting with a presentation. The presentation should be about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll have plenty of time afterward for any Q&A. We do have a number of people too, as I mentioned earlier, on the call for this session who are representatives from both the college departments, faculty members, and others who can help in answering any questions when we do have them for the Q&A. As we go through the presentation, though, if you come across any questions that you have, please feel free, if you'd like, to put them into the chat. People will be able to answer questions through the chat during the presentation, and if for any reason we're to get to them during the presentation, we can circle back with them afterward during the Q&A. So feel free to ask away. So we can go ahead and get started. Again, these are some of the folks who are on the call today who can help answer any questions. We do have representatives from the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department, Computer Science and Engineering, and also from, Mechanical Engineering, and also from our Academic Affairs Department. So lots of people to help field any questions that you may have. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. The agenda for today's presentation is first to explain what is the BS plus MS program, also to go through some of the reasons of why you might want to choose participating in the MS program. Are you eligible? And if you are, how do you join? And then once you're in, what do you do next? And then what are some of your options for the capstone requirement? And then we'll end again with that Q&A session. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what is the BS plus MS program? The BS plus MS program is an accelerated degree program. And essentially what it is that you earn a bachelor's degree and a master's degree combined, and that you earn that master's degree in as little as 1 year. It is available only to current BCOE undergraduate students who meet eligibility requirements. So there are no students who join the BS plus MS who are not currently undergraduate students. So this is a small pool of students who are eligible already to participate in this program. There are a total of 7 majors who are eligible. So if you see your major here, would be a good sign that you're in the right place. There are a few majors that are not eligible, and some of those include material science and engineering, data science, and also our computer science with business applications. Unfortunately, those are not currently eligible for the BS plus MS program. So if you are a part of this call, please be sure that you meet of these eligible majors. And our next slide is, why would you want in participating in the BS plus MS program? And the first is that it saves time and it saves money. As I mentioned, and you can earn a degree in just 1 year, a master's degree in just 1 year with half the cost of a traditional master's program. In addition, there is no GRE requirement in many cases because of COVID. And in some cases, that's been eliminated for some of the other master's programs as well. But for the BS plus MS, no GRE requirement. You can also earn more faster. So MS graduates earn about $15,000 more on average than bachelor's graduates. Now, when we look at our engineering population, we actually see that 15,000 is actually more like 18,000. So the UCR Career Center First Destination Survey from 2020 indicated that our bachelor's graduates earned on average $76,000 upon graduation, and our master's graduates earn $94,000, which is an $18,000 difference. So 1 year could really impact how much you can make on graduation, which is a very exciting pathway for many of our students. And then finally, you could be more competitive. So when you are in the hiring process, having a master's degree will open up more avenues for you with employment. So these are just a couple of the companies that specifically our BS plus MS graduates have gone into. You could see large companies, local companies, all kinds of different types of companies that our BS plus MS graduates have been hired at Google, Zybooks, Microsoft, you name it. And this is what some of our alumni are saying. These two students are typically within our BS plus MS program, and they have indicated that they recommend the program to looking to level up. It's a very cost-effective way for someone to earn a master's degree. Also, they have said it's one of the best decisions that they have ever made. So, definitely look to our students to see and MS students on their experience and whether or not they would recommend it. These two certainly say yes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll pass the presentation on now to my colleague, Hannah, who is going to share a little bit more about how you become eligible, are you eligible, and what's next with that. So Hannah, take it away.
Thank you, Angela. Make sure I'm unmuted. Perfect. So hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Rolak, and I am the marketing coordinator for the College of Engineering. I work on Angela's team and wanted to share a little bit more about what makes you eligible for the program, assuming you fall under one of the qualifying majors. So essentially, as you'll see here, a lot of them are related to GPA. So you'll need a cumulative GPA above a 3.4, cumulative GPA above 3.2 in all your math, science, and engineering courses, as well as a minimum combined GPA above 3.2 in your core courses. And if you're wondering, what are my core courses? These are listed on the Student Affairs website. We have that link in the presentation, and we can also plop that in the chat for you guys to reference later. And you'll also need a minimum grade of B- in these core courses. Finally, you'll need to meet the prerequisites of the MS degree program. So these are kind of just the first steps of what makes you eligible to apply. Exceptions may be offered on a case-by-case basis. This might be if you're close to the GPA threshold or something like that. And this is basically based on the department deciding whether or not an exception will be made. So in terms of applying to the BS plus MS program, there's essentially two phases or steps that are important to remember. So step one is applying to the BS plus MS program. And essentially what this is you'll want to fill out an interest form. The deadline that you want to remember that's super important is 2 quarters before graduating. And here is the link to that form. We can also send that after the call so you guys have a link directly. And essentially this form goes to our Student Affairs office and lets them know that you're interested and want us to review your eligibility. So this happens 3 times a year. Our Student Affairs office will evaluate these interest forms. We actually are evaluating them again in the next few weeks. So if you've applied and fill out an interest form, be on the lookout for that. And essentially at this stage, there's going to be two options. If you're ineligible, you'll receive an email with the reason and potential remediation options. Usually the remediation options are maybe you haven't taken all your courses yet, or you're just shy of what the GPA requirement is. And we want to make sure that you can potentially move forward in the program. So we want to help decide what your options are and help you out with that. If you are eligible, yay. The next steps is you'll receive an email from our Student Affairs office of your conditional acceptance and next steps. What these next steps will look like is you'll need to meet with your graduate Student Affairs officer to start the MS application. And we'll talk a little bit about that next. And then you'll also want to meet with your graduate faculty advisor to gain insight about graduate level expectations. Obviously, the BS coursework is going to be a little different than MS, so we want to make sure that you're prepared for that level of coursework. Okay. And then phase 2, this is kind of what a lot of people tend to forget, is you do need to still formally apply to the MS program. So this will be the same application that you fill out through graduate division if you were just going through the standard MS program. It's important, and we stress this a lot in the presentation, that it's important to consult with your GSAO before you formally fill out this application. Couple things to note, we do encourage you to apply for an application fee waiver, and then reminder that you'll also need your transcripts and your references just as you would for a standard MS application. The benefit though with BS plus MS is that no GRE is required. So that does help fast track. That's one less thing that you need when you're doing the formal MS application. Okay, so you did it. You're in, you're enrolled. This is where we want you to get to. Again, just want to remind you all that it's important to work closely with your GSAO to make sure that you're taking all the courses that you need to take. There's some intricacies too that vary by department. We won't necessarily go through all of these in the presentation, but if you have questions, we encourage you to ask them. And then, you know, as you're going through these steps, the phase 1 of filling out the interest form, phase 2 of applying formally to the MS program, please feel free to reach out to advising email. You all should be familiar with this email by now. And then be sure to include BS plus MS in the subject line. And then finally, finding your GSAO. That might be a term that you all aren't too familiar with yet, but we do have some GSAOs on this call. And in order to find their contact information, you can visit this link here in red. It's on our engineering graduate program website, and their contact information is divided by department. So you'll be able to find them there. Okay. So we're almost to the end of the presentation portion. We want to leave lots of time for Q&A for you guys to ask questions in the chat, which I already see lighting up. There is a capstone requirement for the BS plus MS program. So there's 3 pathways. These do vary by department, so not all of them are available in all MS programs. But typically a thesis, if it's an option for you, is a good idea if you're interested in focusing more on research, if you potentially want to pursue a PhD later down the line. There's also the project option, which can be more flexible than a thesis. It might have an invention component, have a little bit research connected to it. And then finally, there's the third option, which is a comprehensive exam. So this is already built into the coursework of the program. And this one is a good idea usually to get out and to complete the program in 3 quarters. So that's a little bit jumping ahead to what will be required at the end of the BS plus MS program. And with that, that concludes the presentation portion. I know that leaves a lot of time for questions, so feel free to either raise your hand if you want to talk through your question and we can unmute you, or type your question in the Q&A and chat, which I already see is lighting up. So we are more than open to questions at this time.
Tara, I saw in the Q&A that there were a few that you wanted to answer live. Is that correct? Did you want to answer any of those at the moment?
I think I accidentally hit answer live for a couple of those questions. One of the questions, so I'm getting the same question over and over again. When do I apply? When do I apply? When do I apply? As soon as you finish the core courses, that's the earliest you can apply. The latest you can apply is 2 terms before you graduate. If there's challenges between when you finish the core courses and when you plan to graduate, send email to bcoeadvising@engr.ucr.edu with BS plus MS in the subject line. In the body, your full name, your student ID number, and let me know your situation. Now, if you fill out the interest form 2 terms before you graduate, it will redirect you to BCOE Advising to send that email. So I guess I want to say the simplest thing to do is apply 2 terms before you plan to graduate. It'll redirect you to BCOE Advising, and then I will ask you the same question. What was the other live question? Oh, if our major on the degree audit already has BS plus MS on it, does that mean anything? It means that I will evaluate you the same way I evaluate someone who submits an interest form. If you want to make sure that I catch you, you can submit a new interest form. Otherwise, I will just review you and let you know one way or the other if you still meet eligibility requirements. So just because you have the BS plus MS major designation, unless I've sent you a formal email that says, congratulations, you are not quite in the program just yet. Question here, if we are a transfer student, is the only GPA we need the UCR one, or does the CC GPA count as well? The community college GPA does not count as part of anything once you become a UCR student. Does a thesis path typically take the same amount of time as the others? No, absolutely not. And if you want to stay in 1 year, I will let you talk to the graduate student affairs officers about whether or not that path is a good path. How come these specific majors are offered? Are class schedules more complex? Some of it just has to do with the administrative and the bureaucratic part of the programs. The majors that you see now are older and more established. And I would say that would probably be the only reason. The other majors, especially data science and MSc, haven't been around as long. So that might be part of the challenge. I don't know the specifics behind that. Once you get into program, do you have to maintain above a 3.4 cumulative GPA? Yes. If you are already in the BS program from applying to UCR as a freshman, do you still have to do the application? Not sure what you mean by the application. Do you have to do an interest form? No. Do you have to apply to the master's program? Absolutely. Can you apply multiple times if you don't get in? That depends on the reason that you didn't get in. So if you didn't get in because you have a GPA that's below 3.0, it's probably not likely that you're going to meet the GPA requirement. So it really depends on the reason you were denied. If I deny you, I'll give you a specific reason and I'll let you know whether or not that can be remedied. If we meet the eligibility requirements, as long as we follow the next steps, are we guaranteed a spot in the program? Absolutely. Or do we still have to be considered based on letters of recommendation and the applications that we submit? I do not believe so, but I will defer to a graduate student affairs officer to answer that question. If anybody else wants to pop in, do we still need to be considered based on letters of recommendation and the application that they submit?
I'll go.
Okay.
So one thing that I wanted to reiterate, if it's not been said already, is if you don't meet the minimum requirements, apply anyway. The Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering really, well, I'm sure we all value the holistic process, right, in the review of applications and qualifications of students. So our focus is on access we've admitted students into the BSMS program that don't meet the minimum GPA, but have strengths in other areas. And so we have admitted via exceptional approvals. So don't be discouraged if you don't necessarily meet the minimums that you see here. I still encourage you to apply because some programs like ECE do exercise exceptional approvals. Secondly, there was a question with respect to letters of recommendation, right? So if you get admitted into the BS-MS program in your specific CS, MSc, ECE, you are guaranteed admission, right? As far as completing the application for the graduate program, entering the graduate program, you're still required to complete the application, right? So that means your letters of recommendation, 3 letters of recommendation, 2 should be from professors that taught you upper division coursework in your major. We do allow research advisors for that 3rd one or an employer, but 2 of the 3 should be academic references. And to answer the second part of your question, so you're saying a lot of questions I get is why should I spend time completing a full application if I'm going to be admitted anyway? My answer for those interested in applying for EE is we award, if you're applying in fall quarter, we award financial support on a competitive basis to MS students. So historically, most of the awards have gone to BSMS applicants because we recognize that these are competitive applicants, and to also reward and retain the talent, we tend to award BSMS applicants. So you really want to focus still, make sure that you're proud of the application that you're submitting, which means really reach out to professors who can speak to your capabilities to succeed in a rigorous graduate program. Focus on creating the best personal statements you can. Yeah, so I hope that answers that part. If anyone else wants to jump in on what other program they're doing.
I would like to talk about for the CS department. So I'm Vanda Yamaguchi. I'm the program coordinator for the computer science department. And for us, if you do not meet the eligibility, then we are not making exceptions for you to be in the BSMS program. However, I don't want you to feel discouraged because you can apply as a regular student, So it doesn't mean that you can join our program. You can still join our program, but you're just going to be, taking one additional quarter of courses that I think is going to be beneficial to you. So yes, we are not making exceptions, but we welcome your application. And in general, you tend to be really good students, and we really look carefully at your application. We do require at least 2 people of our faculty to write a letter of recommendation. You want to make sure that you're strong, that you have a good reputation, so we can bring you to our program. So that's my thing about computer science. Daniel would like to talk about computer engineering, or would you like me to talk about computer engineering?
I'll say a few words. So computer engineering, we follow a bit like EE in the sense that we do allow exceptions. So if your GPA is a bit below, we have made exceptions in the past. Other than that, I think either June or Vanda kind of covered everything else.
Great. I see another question in the chat, one here that says, you say the exam is built into the coursework. How does that work? Could we have someone explain a little bit more about how that specifically works for students going into the BS+MS program?
Is this person referring to the comprehensive exam option? Okay.
I believe so, yes.
It's very possible, but that different departments will use different ways of doing this. For the computer science department, yes, it is built in the core course that we offer. We offer 6 core courses, and the students will take the final exam for those core courses they choose to take. They will probably have to take at least 2 core courses, and in each course, 2 questions in the final exam is assigned to meet comprehensive exam requirement. So yeah, it is built in. You're going to be taking part of your class. If you pass those 2 classes, 2 questions, then you meet 2 questions. You need another one because you need a total of 3 questions that you have to pass to meet the comprehensive exam requirement. And this is for computer science. And I believe it's computer engineering too. Daniel? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, same thing.
Yep.
Also similar to EE. The difference with EE is we have an incentive for students to do well in their courses, right? So at the beginning of the quarter, you do course planning. As BSMS students, when you matriculate, instead of completing 36 units, you complete 24 units. That roughly amounts to about 2 courses a quarter, which brings you down below full-time status. The program will work with you if, so I guess before I go into that, one thing I want to highlight is as a BSMS student, you are getting flexibility. When you get into the program, because you have courses double counted from your BS to the MS, that gives you flexibility. So that means you can take more courses if you want, or that means some of our students have been able to do internships or employment, right? That just depends, and the program will work with you on that plan, the specific plan. But so generally, if you want to go into the comprehensive exam pathway to obtain the MS, you complete 24 units. At the beginning of the quarter, you do your course planning. Generally, it's 2 courses a quarter, right? And then you choose 5 courses to test in for the comprehensive exam. And an incentive for our students to do well in their courses is if they get an A or an A+ in the course, they waive out of an exam. So I believe you can waive up to 2 courses. So in theory, if you want to go through to complete the comp exam pathway, a max of 3 exams to obtain the MS.
Tara, are there other questions that you're seeing in the Q&A in the chat that you're seeing are being repeated that would be helpful to share?
Yes, so the core courses question keeps getting repeated, and I think Paya sent the link and reposted it again. So it is not just about your lower division courses. It is not just about your upper division courses. There are 4 specific courses that each department has outlined that you must take. And those 4 specific courses, you have to earn a 3.2 GPA, minimum GPA, with no grade less than a C-. Now, with the pandemic, many students have opted to S&C courses, and some of those core courses are part of that calculation. So if you S&C a course, from my perspective, you have said that you've earned a C in that course. So I will send your request to the department for review by exception and let them take a look at it from there. That's a case-by-case basis. I will tell you what I tell every student who struggles with, should I change it to satisfactory no credit? If you can earn the C, earn the C. If you can't earn the C, given the situation we're in, leave it alone, leave it at a letter grade. Because changing the grading basis, if you decide later on to go to a different graduate program, we don't know how they're going to handle that. So it is best that if you can earn the C, take the C. Anything lower than the C, have a conversation with your academic advisor. But for the most part, I'm recommending that don't change the grading basis solely to protect yourself from getting a B when you think you should be getting an A. I guess that's what I'm really trying to say. The other question, are you guaranteed a spot? Yes, you're guaranteed a spot. You're guaranteed a spot if you meet eligibility, but you still have to apply as a graduate student. You still have to fill out the graduate application, which means you still have to gather at least 2 letters of recommendation. Many of the questions that you're asking right now, if you meet eligibility, you will have a conversation with the graduate student affairs officer, and they will answer your questions unique to you. So the 2 biggest things I want you to leave here, well, 3 biggest things I want you to leave here with is this. Apply as soon as you complete the core courses, or 2 terms before you expect to graduate, whichever one comes first. And if there's a challenge, send email. If you go to the interest form and submit the interest form 2 terms before you anticipate graduating, even if you haven't completed the core courses, the interest form will redirect you back to the email. Please do not submit an interest form until you've done one of those 2 things. If you send me one as a freshman and you haven't even taken the sophomore level courses, I'm just going to send it back and tell you, per the website, please do not submit until you have completed the core courses or you are 2 terms away from graduation. And if there's some funny business between those 2 dates, send email. So what are the deadlines for the graduate application? Again, meet eligibility requirements, meet the deadlines for the BS plus MS program, and then you'll get all of that information. I promise, because the graduate student affairs officers are amazing and they are on top of everything. If our major on degree audit already has the BS plus MS on it, does that mean anything? Yeah, it means that I'm going to review you based on when you are expected to graduate. So one of the really great things you guys could do is make sure that your expected graduation date is correct. One of the biggest challenges I have is somebody, for example, who in their degree audit, it says they're graduating in spring 2024, when in reality they're graduating in spring 2022. That's a challenge. So make sure that your expected graduation dates are correct. Let's see.
A question regarding that, because this comes up often, is
Okay.
if I get admitted to into the BSMS program, do I need to, and I graduate say in spring, right? Do I have to matriculate into the MS program that fall quarter, that quarter immediately after I graduate from my BS, or can I wait and still, you know?
It is the expectation for all BS plus MS students who graduate in spring to continue their studies in fall. If you need to take a gap year, you will not be eligible for the BS plus MS program. Is admission guaranteed given that you meet the requirements and have letters of recommendation? Yes. It's really interesting to me that some of the people with the highest GPAs in the college continue to ask the question, is it guaranteed? Yes, it's guaranteed. I promise you, it's guaranteed. Are there preferences for which technical electives to take that carry over to the EMS program for our major? No, there are no preferences. So at some point you complete your undergraduate degree, and then you'll have a conversation with the graduate student affairs officer when you get ready to apply for graduation from the master's program, and then you'll decide which courses and petition which courses you'll be double counting. On the interest form, it states to fill it out either if we have completed the core courses or be within 4 terms of graduating. If we have not completed the core courses, but our expected graduation is spring 2023, this means we can fill out the interest form right now, correct? Yes, you can fill it out for winter. However, the deadline for winter has passed. So you might as well wait until you finish the core courses. Could we take MS classes alongside BS classes if we are only taking 2 BS classes? Our last quarter as a BS student? Maybe. That is a conversation you should start with your academic advisor. I know you said there aren't exceptions for the CS, BS plus MS, but what if I currently have a 3.39 cumulative GPA, but meet every other requirement and submit an interest form now? Should I wait to raise my GPA to 4.0 or submit it now anyways? I'm gonna leave that to Paya. Let me read it again. What if I currently have a 3.39 cumulative GPA, but meet every other requirement and submit an interest form now? Should I wait to raise my GPA to a 4.0 or submit it now anyways?
It's at 3.39, so you're right below the border.
3.39.
Department is very strict about the GPA requirement. So yes, you'd want to tip that over the edge.
Or apply to the traditional program.
Yeah, exactly. Regular MS would work.
I would like to address a couple questions from about how many courses you need for the MS portion in computer science. You need 12 courses with a total of 48 units. And for computer engineering is 44 units, 11 courses. And one thing that I would like to mention, that once the computer science and computer engineering receive a list of all the students who are qualified to be in the BSMS program, we will automatically send you a message about this is what the steps to apply for the MS program, including in how to have the application fee waived. So please read that very carefully, because once, if you don't follow that direction and you submit that application, you will have to pay that fee. We have to do the application fee before you submit the application. I'm not sure if this is going to be the case for fall 2022, but I'm hoping it will be the case for fall 2022. It is the case, I'm sure, for spring 2022. So just please pay attention to the information that we will be sending you about what you need to do in order to apply for the master portion of the BSMS in computer science and computer engineering.
We have another question here in the Q&A. I'll pass this on to our faculty who are on this call. There is someone who is asking about going about asking for letters of recommendations from professors, understanding that professors are very busy, and how maybe, especially in these last 2 years, how students have been remote. Do you have any recommendations on how a student can approach a professor requesting a letter of recommendation?
I'll answer that. Being remote, we understand that it's a challenge building these faculty-student relationships. So personally, I know many faculties are very open. How do you ask? Just shoot us an email. And I saw there was a question about how early should we contact professors? As early as you know when you are going to apply, because this gives us the most amount of time to procrastinate and write it last minute. I'm just kidding. But in general, it's better to ask us sooner than later, not just saying, hey, it's due in 2 weeks, right? Give us as much time as possible.
Kaya, any additional input on that question regarding asking a professor for a recommendation letter?
I get to answer a lot of those questions. And even though I'm not a faculty, this is what I recommend my students to do. Choose a course that you did really, really well. You got an A for the class. Tell them, I got an A for the class. I took that in winter 2021. And I was involved in this project, or something that, make the faculty remember, or, what you did for the class. And give them a little hint or something that they can think about you, and just approach them and say, hey, could you please write me a letter of recommendation on applying for the BSMS program? And I see that a lot of the faculty will be doing. I don't know if you're having a lot of problems with the CS faculty, but in general, I see a lot of them really submitting the letters quickly. Sometimes last minute, but I'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get the letters somehow. If you list them in your application and it's taking a little bit longer, we will be contacting the faculty and asking them, please submit the letter recommendation. You just need to let them know that you're requesting a letter recommendation.
I can add a couple of thoughts on that. So this past year, I did 108 recommendation letters, and that is too many. Okay, I mean, I love doing them, but it's good to spread them out a little bit, ask other professors. And when you do, make sure they can say something intelligent about you, not just that this person took my class and got an A. So showing up to their office hours, getting to know them, like was mentioned, is important, so that I can write more than 2 sentences about you. For the BSMS, like they've said, it's pretty much guaranteed. So those letters don't have to be stellar letters. It's okay if it's a 1 or 2 sentence letter. But again, like in other programs, like was mentioned, a 1 or 2 sentence letter won't get you on the superstar list. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you, Adrian.
Okay, so this is Adrian. I'm Adrian Thomas. I'm from CEE and bioengineering. I've been listening, and a lot of people are freaked out about like if they don't meet the requirements. If you just barely miss the requirements for the BSMS program, chances are you are qualified for the regular MS program. And I know in our program, the programs that I manage, a lot of the BS MS students finish at the same time as the MS students, because you have to take, for our program, 36 units. Yes, you get to waive 2 technical electives for our programs, but you still have to make that 36 unit requirement. And then also in regard to the letters of recommendation, please be sure when you do ask the faculty that they do know something about you, because I had an incident where a faculty member had written in one of the letters that it was, one person, but it wasn't another. It was another person, and graduate division sent it back. They were like, "Okay, who are they writing this letter for?" And I feel like I should have caught that, but just make sure that you do get 2 letters from faculty, and that you actually take the application seriously. Complete it as if you were. Even though you have guaranteed admission, you might want to apply to another PhD program somewhere else. We'd like for you to stay at UCR, but if you want to go somewhere else, take this as seriously as you would take something else, because this is a step into your future. So I really recommend that you take this very seriously. Don't, because you're pretty much guaranteed admission, take it lightly. And that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Adrian. We had another question that in the chat about the recommendation letters. Does it have to be a professor, or can it also be a TA? Would anyone like to comment on that? I'm seeing the shaking of the head. No.
Yeah, it has
Not
to
for
be
our program.
faculty, or a lecturer will be okay, an associate dean would be okay, but not a TA.
Okay. Is anyone seeing any other trends and questions in the chat or the Q&A that they'd like to respond to? And saying that please feel free, if we have not answered your question, to please post them into the Q&A or the chat, and then we'll make sure that we get to that. There were a lot of questions coming in, and there may have been some that we missed. And so would love to give you another opportunity to go ahead and get those posted if you do have additional questions. I will bring up one here from the Q&A. How early do we start applying for the master's application? And can we ask professors before starting the application and then send them afterward? Is there anyone who would like to respond to that question?
Sure, you can. Yeah. Be proactive. Yeah, absolutely. I encourage. Be ready.
Here's what I recommend. When you were in high school and you applied to college, it was a year-long process. You did your research, you filled out an application, you took the SAT, and you waited to get a response. Treat this the same way. Treat this like you are not guaranteed a spot and you are applying to a graduate school where you do not know what the outcome is going to be. For 2 reasons. One, it's great experience to learn how to do that, to go and shake people's hands and figure things out. 2, if you wait to the last minute to do anything, it's always going to be a stressful situation for you. And you're putting undue stress on other folks as well, not necessary. And when you stress people out, you don't get the nicest treatment that you could possibly get. So don't wait to the last minute. Don't be so concerned about what's the last deadline and what's the next deadline. You want to apply, apply. The worst that happens is I tell you it's too early. Because if I have to tell you it's too late, then that's a bigger problem. So apply or submit an interest form as soon as you can. Again, the interest form is going to ask you, did you complete the core courses? And if the answer is no, it tells you to send email and it tells you exactly what to do. So don't worry about it. I got it covered. Okay. Couple more questions in the Q of A. Is the minimum grade C- or B-? It's B-. Not sure where the C- came from. The slides say B- because the slides are correct. When you say core courses that must be completed, is it the only 4 courses from the link that was just posted? Here's the other thing I'm going to say about the core courses. If you follow your suggested course plan, you will finish the core courses at the end of the junior year, which is how the program was designed. So you have all of your senior year or your 4th year to manage this process. The problem is many of you are kind of graduating in the middle of a term, and that's where the challenge comes in. So follow the suggested course plan, take the core courses in the order. No, you don't have to finish your junior year. No, you don't have to be finished with anything. No, you shouldn't jump ahead just to get the core courses so you can submit an interest form. It's always best to follow the suggested course plan. That just makes life easier on lots of other people. If you graduate the BS in fall or winter, are you able to start the MS in the next quarter? Probably, but again, it's not something you have to worry about in terms of submitting the interest form. The Graduate Student Affairs Officer will let you know what you can and can't do. If I'm graduating this fall, 2022, can I submit the interest form now? Yes, if you've completed the core courses, yes. And you actually have until week 3 of spring, technically. I'm not going to look at it till this summer. And as long as it's submitted, yes. But fall 2022, I'd have to talk to the Graduate Student Affairs officers about what their timelines are. So while you've submitted it now, we've got enough time to take care of that. Let's see, what else do I have here? What if I'm graduating in spring 2022 and I'm a CS, BS plus MS student and I'm late sending an interest form and a master's application? Submit and let somebody tell you what you can and can't do. Is there any reason we couldn't take the maximum 20 units of graduate courses in a quarter? You'd probably kill yourself. That's a heavy load. We don't even recommend that you take 20 units of courses as an undergrad. As a grad, 20 units is about what, three terms by itself. The plan seems to assume 12 units per quarter. Yes. So I'm not sure how it varies from undergrad where the cap is approximately 17. So think about your technical electives on steroids. Your technical electives are not as challenging as your graduate courses are. So if you've ever taken 4 technical electives in a term and know what that feels like, multiply that by 10, and that's probably what 2 graduate level courses might be like. Just making sure if we got accepted into the BS MS, we don't have to fill out the interest form. Yes, you do not have to fill out the interest form. You do need to make sure that your expected graduation date is correct. So many of you should be part of AIM Year 3, Academic Advising Milestones Year 3, and Academic Advice Milestones Year 4. That should have gone to alerted you to figuring out what your actual expected graduation date is. So if I encourage all of you to go and make sure that your expected graduation date is correct. Because if I see that you have an expected graduation date of 2024, I probably won't look at you. And if your expected graduation date is actually 2022, that's the challenge. So the most recent review for the interest forms is 3 weeks later from now. I am looking at interest forms right now. The deadline to have submitted the form was week 3 of this term. The next time I will review interest forms will be over the summer. So if you submit after week 3, I won't look at it until summer. I think that's all I saw. Does anybody else see other questions that didn't? Are there additional questions? I think I answered.
I thought I saw a question in the
Right.
chat about, I can't see it now, but something about the PhD versus BSMS or how those are related. Was that answered?
I want to say Paul responded to that question, is that many students use the master's to build into the PhD program, but I think most of the graduate students assistants would say if you're interested in the PhD, go straight to the PhD. Maybe I could be incorrect about that.
Perfect.
I see a question in the Q&A about whether or not we'll be emailing this PowerPoint. Yes, we will. To everyone who registered for this session, you will receive an email with this recording. And then I also see questions just confirming core classes have a B- minimum, not a C-, right? And that is a yes. Yes, I've seen head nods, right? And just to confirm, just the core classes can't have pass, no pass, but the other classes are okay.
So I have not received a response from any of the departments about how they feel about satisfactory no credit yet. So my recommendation is, again, treat your record like you haven't been guaranteed a spot somewhere. You do not know from another institution how they're going to treat the satisfactory no credit, pandemic times or not. Do not change your grading basis to S&C to avoid a B as in boy. If you can earn the C, then earn the C. Do not let this program be the reason that you decide to change your grading basis. There are many roads to graduate school. This is one of many, and it's a great one. It's an amazing one. But you have to look at your academic record a little more broadly than just this program.
Thanks,
I would
Tara.
like,
Oh, go ahead, please go ahead.
Can I add something about the SNC for the graduate level? So just keep in mind that every time you submit a petition for an SNC grade for a graduate program, you can no longer use that course towards your degree requirement. So that means you will need to take an additional course. So this is sometimes a strategy that might be used for somebody who might be struggling with the class too much, or might be sick at that time, and might need to have a little bit of reduced load. But for somebody who really wants to finish quickly, like students in the BSMS program, I completely discourage you to apply for the SNC option, except for courses that are only created for SNC grade, like the 297 research course, like the 299 research course. Those courses will only be assigned an SNC grade, and they will count towards your degree, but not a letter grade course.
Another question was, how long is a regular master's compared to a BS plus MS? And this one specifically says about CS. Would anyone in CS like to address that question? The traditional versus the BS plus MS masters.
What was the specific question?
It's not clear to me.
The question is, how long is a regular master's compared to a BS plus MS masters in CS?
So it's 3 quarters versus 4 quarters. The BSMS basically shaves off a quarter because 3 courses, or 12 units, gets to be quote unquote double counted from your undergraduate program. That's why it shaves off a quarter. That assumes you're taking 12 units a quarter.
And Tara, there's a question about changing graduation date. I don't think that has been addressed yet. Would they just contact you? Looks like
No,
that-
that's, again, we're talking about the breadth of your entire record. So again, if you're paying attention to your email, you've been invited to Academic Advising Milestones Year 3 and Academic Advising Milestones Year 4. Both cases, we asked you to make sure that your your expected date of graduation is correct. So if you have not done it during that process and you feel like it's incorrect, this is part of the reason so many people do not know when they're graduating, because they're not really paying attention to their degree audit. If you need to change your graduation date, which you can find in our web under the student summary, you will send email to bcoeadvising@engr.ucr.edu. In the subject line, your major code and your full name. In the body, your student ID number. After that, a professional email. Dear advisor, please change my expected graduation date from blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, blah. And that is something, and that is all you have to do. And you'll be able to see the change in your degree audit and in our web, probably the minute that the advisor goes in and takes that, takes care of that. So, and if you don't know how to figure out your expected graduation date, then you should probably schedule an appointment for course planning. And since we're getting ready to start the registration cycle, now is a good time to do that. Another sign is, are you taking senior design? If you have enrolled in the first senior design course, you're probably close to graduation. So you should make sure that you have that noted correctly. What if I'm graduating in spring 2022? I'm a CSBS plus MS student and I'm late sending an interest form and master's application. Send email to BCOE Advising BS plus MS program and tell me the story and I'll figure it out. I'm a computer engineering major. I graduate in spring 2022 and I sent the interest form in week 2. Is that too late? Nope, I got it. For ME, which undergraduate courses are counting toward the MS? For every program, not just ME, you get to count 2 to 3 of your 4 of your technical electives, depending on the program. So the technical electives, not just your upper division courses, but specifically your technical electives. Fall 2022, I can submit the interest form now, yes, but I probably will not look at it until summer because you've missed the deadline. If I graduate the BS in fall or winter, am I able to start the MS in the next quarter? That is a question I'm going to leave for the graduate student affairs officers on a case-by-case basis. It depends. So don't let that be the reason you don't submit the interest form, though. Again, lots of different roads to graduate school. Okay, so would our graduation date be once we finish our bachelor's degree? You'll have 2 graduation dates. So you'll have a graduation date for your bachelor's degree, which is the one I'm asking you to make sure is updated now. And then you'll have a separate graduation date for your master's degree. BS plus MS is 3/4. Oh, that's PIA. Okay. Any new questions? How does BS MS tuition compare to a regular BS? It's the same. There's no difference undergraduate wise between the BS plus MS program and the BS program. Any additional questions? Just to clarify, when you say core courses that must be completed before applying, is it only the 4 courses from the link that was just posted? Yes, you have to complete those 4 courses before submitting the interest form. Could we take MS classes alongside BS classes if we're only, I think I answered that already. It is not necessary. I don't necessarily recommend it. And as Dr. Lependu said, there's a minimum number of courses that you have to take as part of the master's program. So taking those courses, graduate level courses, as part of your undergraduate program is not going to shorten the year. It's going to be a year minimum. You can't get away from that. Anything else?
I do want to recognize that we are over time. It is past 5 o'clock. So if anyone has any additional questions, some of us will stay on and make sure that we can answer that you may have. But on the whole, I think we've gone through quite a few. We'll continue answering questions. I do want to be clear about that as long as everyone is able to stay on. But before anyone else does drop off, I do want to recognize and thank everyone for joining the meeting, and also thanking all of our panelists for their time and answering all the questions that we have had. So thank you to everyone. And again, we will stay on and answer any additional questions that may come in, but just know that some of our panelists and others may be needing to drop off.
I do not know the financial aid question about the graduate portion of the program. So the question is, are there options for financial aid to pay for the 1 extra year to get our MS degree in the BS-MS program?
They can complete the FAFSA. I know CEE and bioengineering, we don't, all of our master's students are self-funding, but if they were looking for some type of financial aid, they just fill out for our program, they fill out a FAFSA like they did for their undergrad.
Another question, is there a program plan for the MS for CEN, not CSE?
Yes, I'm sending the link right now. It's on the computer engineering website. We do have a program plan. So if you click it, you should see all the course requirements for the master's program. And there's also a separate form, which is like a little worksheet.
And I see the question, I'm still a freshman. Is there any action that I need to take right now?
Maintain your GPA and don't change your major. Christian, if you could clarify your question, I can probably answer it here. There's no, I'm blowing this popsicle stand as soon as this is over, and I will not be back until Tuesday. And I don't want you sitting on the edge of your seat until then.
If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A or into the chat. So we see we still have quite a few folks on the call, so if there are questions, now is the time to ask away. Just as a reminder, as we wait for any additional questions to come in, this presentation has been recorded and will be shared with everyone who registered to attend. So if you are unable to attend the entire session because of a class or any other reason, you will receive the full recording. And it looks like we have that question coming in from Christian. For graduation date and course options. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not sure what you mean by course options. For graduation date or course planning, you should see your advisor and manage that process separately from applying to this program. Again, I want to reiterate, your focus is on the breadth of your progress in earning the bachelor's degree. Can't get the master's until you have the bachelor's. So focus on the bachelor's, meet the requirements, and the master's will take care of itself.
And Christian, if you'd like to post in the chat what department you're looking at pursuing the BS plus MS4, perhaps there's someone on this call too that, if it's not Tara, who that person would potentially be to connect you with. Mechanical. Okay, that would be Paul. I believe
Paul
Paul.
put his information in the chat, but I'm thinking Christian's not talking about the master's side. He's trying to make a determination as to when he's going to graduate. So I'm going to say, if right now you're following the suggested course plan, then that's when you're going to graduate. If you didn't enroll in ME 175A for fall or winter, then you're not graduating in spring. So we got time.
And we have a question in the Q&A. Do both MS and BS plus MS require 2 letters of recommendation? Can someone provide some clarification on that question? Maybe one of the GSAOs.
So 2 letters recommendations required for computer science
3, I'm seeing.
Well,
for BSMS?
I
I was muted.
don't think there's
Can
one
you
for
hear
the
me?
BSMS. It's just an interest form you complete. And then once you get admitted into the BSMS program, then you have to submit a separate application for the master's program, which requires, well, for EE, we require 3 letters of recommendation. I guess CS also said 3 as well.
CS requires 2.
Oh, 2.
Yes, that's okay.
And computer
require-
engineering requires
For the
2.
traditional
The
MS.
BSMS, the traditional one,
Right.
you submit 3 letters.
Okay, so the answer to the question is traditional program requires 3 letters of recommendation. The BSMS requires 2 letters of recommendation.
That's correct.
The other thing I'm going to recommend is that nobody fill out the graduate application without talking to the graduate student affairs officer first. There are nuances that are unique to the BS plus MS program that will confuse you and send you running around to places you don't need to be running around to because you didn't follow directions. When I send you the eligibility notice, the first thing it says is go meet with the GSAO. So please do that before you begin completing the application.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, so my recommendation to get letters of recommendation, graduate division does require 3, but if you have 2 strong letters of recommendation, they'll take 2. But I recommend always getting 3. Even though your application is guaranteed, it can be greatly delayed because sometimes what we are waiting on a lot in the programs that I manage are letters of recommendation. So if you only ask 2 people because that's the minimum, well, what if one person can't do it? Or if one person is taking a really long time? If you have 3 recommenders and 2 out of the 3 submit their letters, you have your 2 that are, 3 are really required, but if you have 2 really strong letters, they'll take the 2 letters. So I recommend in all cases that you ask for 3 letters because in one of the programs that I work with, there were people who just filled things in and wrote in that I'm a BSMS student. I don't know where they got the information from one of the programs, but they believed that they didn't need letters of recommendation. You do. So please take this seriously. Even though you're guaranteed admission, the process can be a lot longer and a lot more tedious if you don't follow the directions.
I think that's really great advice. Also, no one's going to reject you if you give us 3 letters and you only need a minimum of 2. So why not meet the standard bar, always as a safe, smart option.
All right, I haven't seen any additional questions come into the Q&A or into the chat. So if there are no additional questions, we'll go ahead and we'll close out the meeting. Again, I do want to thank everyone for attending and learning more about the BS plus MS. And I especially want to give a big thanks to all of our panelists for taking the time to answer all the questions that we received today. And again, we will send out the And just as I say that, 2 more come in. We'll send out this recording. Would anyone like to answer? Let's see the 2 that just came in for CS. Is a minimum requirement.
Yes, for the BSMS student, yes, we require 2 letters of recommendation. If you don't make it to the BSMS program, then you will need 3 letters of recommendation.
And then also the other, if I was accepted into the BS plus MS program, I still need to apply to graduate school, but I do not need to submit an interest form. Just clarifying that.
If your major designation says BS plus MS and your expected date of graduation is correct, then no. If your expected date of graduation is not correct, it is best to send the interest form. But I'm gonna follow the advice that Adrian and Dr. Lapindu just said. It's okay to do more. There's nothing wrong with submitting that interest form. There's nothing wrong with having 3 letters of rec. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with studying and taking the GRE, because it's nice to have options. Yes, taking a gap quarter will disqualify you from the program.
Okay. We'll go ahead and close out the meeting now. Thank you so much for everyone and your time. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the evening. Thank you, everyone.